What's up, everybody? Ryan and Greg here to talk about another episode of Jordan Peele's revival of The Twilight Zone. This is episode 8, Point of Origin.
Again, spoiler warning, if you haven't watched this episode yet, get out of here, go watch it, and then come on back. This episode was written by John Griffin and directed by Matthias Herndl. The privilege bubble bursts for our protagonist, Eve Martin, played by Jennifer Goodwin, and her family when they are rounded up by a group of government agents, the HSI, and are detained on a matter of national security. And this is when our narrator, Jordan Peele, lets us know that Eve got a little too comfortable with the comfort and safety she's always adored. We learn that 30 years ago, a caravan carrying Eve and many others traveled to another dimension to live a better life and get away from the hellscape they're from. Unfortunately, they landed smack dab in the Twilight Zone.
She will find herself within the strange and unfamiliar borders of the Twilight Zone.
Before we get into Easter eggs and references and what we liked and maybe didn't like about the episode, what are your overall thoughts?
So after last week's episode, we thought, what's left? What are they going to hit? What key buttons are they going to push?
What major hot button issues are going to come up?
Okay, so we had toxic masculinity last week. We did Black Lives Matter.
Dangerously incompetent people running the government.
Yes. But that said, we thought, okay, maybe immigration. And I kind of made the joke that I thought, okay, maybe it'll be aliens from, Martians come down and they just start segregating everyone and putting them in, some of them in cages and moving around. And we left it at that, and then sure enough, this episode hits, and well, it's
more or less.
Yeah, different
it's definitely
dimensions.
Immigration.
Yes, it is. Now, look, the Twilight Zone has not been subtle when it comes to either hiding its twist at the very beginning of the episode, or even their metaphors. Their metaphors have been really, really hitting on the head. Sometimes it works out, and sometimes it does not. And this was one of those cases where I thought, I should love this episode, and it just did not work for me at all. The story just never reached full potential for me, and that's crazy because Goodwin and James Frain had wonderful performances in this episode.
I don't know if that's true or false.
True or false? If there was an option for I don't know, I would have offered it.
All right, Ryan, what did you think of this episode?
There was a lot in this episode that I really wanted to like, but ultimately I couldn't connect with.
Yeah.
And there's sort of two sides to that. There's the political message, and then there's the storytelling craft itself. And in both areas, I just didn't get there. Like the mood, the tone, the cinematography, there's actually quite a lot of good acting, but the two halves don't really speak to each other very well. I appreciate the message about xenophobia, but whereas I felt the core subject matters of Replay and Not All Men were in sharp focus, I don't feel that xenophobia itself was thoroughly addressed amid the anachronistic period style or the labyrinthian Kafkaesque prison. All of that feels like it would be more at home in Handmaid's Tale. Something I like about those other episodes is that they sort of take the reality or world that we're most familiar with and amplify it and exaggerate it to make their point.
Jordan Peele's films.
Right, exactly. So that has a way of bringing the issue into a little bit more relief by almost satirizing it. Mm-hmm. And in this case, bringing it to another dark, weird, sort of bleak dimension, separated at least me sort of emotionally from the characters, especially the main characters.
You don't remember who you are. You're not alone.
It does seem weird that, in a sense, you have this the twist that's part of making the point is that, it turns out to be the person that's part of the affluent ruling class that has become the victim. Mm-hmm. And that just rings a bit hollow to me. This isn't an issue of subtlety, because subtlety is not a part of the other very strongly political episodes. I think what's different is how they're played out based on who the subject matter is. In the case of Replay, it's a Black Lives Matter story and the main characters are African American. Mm-hmm. In Not All Men, it's about toxic masculinity and the put upon characters are the women in the story. That distancing from the real world subjects of the subject matter makes this feel a step removed
Yeah.
Sort of emotionally and conceptually.
I mean, you're already removed from the twist early in the episode, like the last, I think, 4 episodes, we've been removed from the twist immediately. And then on top of that, the metaphors are hitting you over the head. You're there, like, okay, that's fine, but where are we going with this? Where's the story leading us? And it's just that separation might have been a little too much here.
Now, all that is my first issue. The second side of it is more related to the storytelling itself, not just how it handles the subject matter, but sort of like the mechanics of it. And again, how much I really want to like it. The potential for referential storytelling in this episode is really strong because of this series' seemingly connected universe. That Eve Martin may be from our time/reality and a survivor of the war that started off 6 Degrees of Freedom and possibly caused by the president of Wonderkin. In theory, it's interesting to me that as the universe is built out by its creators, that shorthand references to other episodes help along the storytelling economy in any given episode. The episode then doesn't need to explain everything about itself. However, the result is almost too diagnostic, and however interesting those crossover possibilities are, they don't justify the overall experience. This all makes me feel like I'm doing a film school thesis bend backwards to make the episode work for me, but I'm just not limber enough anymore to touch my toes.
Eve, it's in your best interests not to resist.
All right, let's talk about some of the things we actually really did like about the episode.
Well, the second Anna's gone, they showed the cereal and just the family, all they had out was orange juice. I thought, oh, okay, so they are completely worthless without her. It's just their breakfast, but then they do bring up immediately after that, oh, we're gonna go get food from
Grubhub. Yay!
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get our anti-corporate, anti-capitalism episode this season.
Oh, I don't know. I think there's room in there for a full-on Whipple episode.
It's not happening.
Krusty is coming. Krusty is coming. Krusty's coming.
I did like This Land Is Your Land blasting through the ice cream truck at the end of the episode. Well, that was pretty cool. Again, I thought all the scenes of James Frain were great. This guy, he knows the right tone to play just such a cold-hearted bureaucrat.
Yeah, he sells that super well.
I even love the little Twilight Zone spiral of madness or whatever that thing is on the monitor in the laboratory. It's pretty damn cool because they're literally going through different dimensions, so there you go.
The whole lab is pretty cool.
I even love the hamster wheel. I love the dimensional spinal tap. I love the deception by Allendale where his face is superimposed over Bill's.
What if I was there?
You're right about what?
Seeing the sky invokes him.
And I really like the cinematography in this episode. I know you weren't blown over by it, but I really like the Kafka stuff in this one. It felt like The Trial and An Obsolete Man, which again was just very Kafka.
Why am I always in the wrong without even knowing what for or what it's all about?
On to some Easter eggs and references, things we noticed in this episode.
Let's do it. Early in the episode, we hear the name Matheson Charter School. Now, this is a tribute to the legendary writer Richard Matheson, who has penned dozens of classic Twilight Zone episodes, including Third from the Sun, Nick of Time, and Little Girl Lost, which ironically features a little girl trapped in another dimension.
Daddy, where are you? We're here, baby. We're here. We're right here.
Now the next one, a little friend returns for I think the 3rd time now, and I know there's a box probably somewhere on that they bring with them to every set for Twilight Zone, and it just has on it written Easter eggs or something, and they pulled out that gremlin, but they hid it in a nice spot that I thought was pretty cool. You can spot the little gremlin in this dollhouse. That's pretty cool.
No, I totally missed that.
So there you go.
I totally missed that.
And the very next shot, you see frosted Cannamunch cereal to serve humans. This is obviously a nod to the Cannamint aliens, the alien race that sees humans as a nice snack in the classic episode To Serve Man.
Boy, that is a real good one.
That the little, you can even see the Cannamint alien on there too, and that's what really bowled me. I was like, okay, that's good. Good job, everyone.
And that's one we haven't seen yet.
Nope, not yet.
That's awesome. Now, while we haven't seen that cereal before, there was something we have seen before, and that's the number 1015, which appeared in this episode as the key code to a security door in the prison. Now, we've seen that all over the place in this series. We saw it in Nightmare on 30,000 Feet. We saw it in Replay. We saw it in A Traveler.
I hope this turns out to be something at this point. They got to do something, because I even went back and looked at the old episodes, like Time is Enough at Last, I think.
Time Enough at Last.
Yeah, I want to call it, it feels like a James Bond title.
It does.
And every time I say it, the Burgess Meredith classic episode, and I look back at those clocks, and I realize, oh wait, a clock broke at a certain point in that episode, right before the H-bomb struck. No, it's not 10:15.
That's not it.
So I'm not going through the other episodes too, just to find that 10:15. So I have a feeling, I hope it's something to do with this series.
It feels very much like it is a part of this series. Speaking of where are they going with this, there is a mysterious man in a suit that has appeared before, specifically in Replay. And in this episode, the scene where Eve gets her credit card declined, she gets shoved in the supermarket by somebody trying to get through, and it seems like maybe the same person again.
I'll see. The mask that Eve is forced to wear has a striking similarity to the pig-nosed humans from the classic episode Eye of the Beholder. Even the tone itself, the second she starts talking when they have the mask on, immediately should draw your attention to Eye of the Beholder. They took the skin and muscles off of it, left the skeleton, then built it back up. I could see a little bit of that in this episode.
I see that too a bit. There's also the ice cream truck, which is Mr. Dingle's Ice Cream. Now, that is a tribute to Burgess Meredith's character from episode 55 of the original Serling series, Mr. Dingle the Strong. Let us know down in the comments if there's anything else that you noticed in this episode, or hit us up on Twitter.
And we'll see you all back here for episode 9 next week. Bye-bye.